Jaya Yashoda Nandana Jaya Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Kunja Bihari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Gopi Jannavalabha Jaya Girivaradari Jaya Girivaradari Gopi Jannavalabha Jaya Girivaradari Jaya Jaya Girivaradari Jaya Yashodanandana Jaya Braja Janaranjana Jaya Yashodanandana Jaya Braja Janaranjana Tejamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Kunja Bihari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari. Shri Radha and Madhava always enjoying in the forest groves by the bank of the Jamuna in Vrindavan ki jai. Shri Radha Damodar ki jai. Nitai Gaura Premanandi. Vishnu Padaya Krishna Padaya Bhutale Shiva Devi Midaswami Tanamana Vajaya Pura Valakshmi Bhakta Chaminta Parata Tapikana Misa Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. Today we're reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, 6th Canto, Chapter 16, text number 44, if I understand correctly. which says, Nahi Bhagavan agatitam idam tvadarshanan rinam akila papakshaya yanama sachkrit shravanat pukasho pivut vimuchate samsarat. Interesting meter. Nahi Bhagavan agatitam idam tvadarshanan rinam akila papakshaya Yanama Sachkrich Shravanat Bukasho Vimuchate Samsarat. Nahi Bhagavan Agatitam Midam Tvadarshanan Rinam Akila Papakshaya Yanama Sachkrich Shravanat Bukasho Vimuchate Samsarat. It's an interesting one. Anybody else would like to read the Sanskrit verse here?
Range meter.
Yes.
Nahi Bhagavan Agatitam idam Svadarshanam Dirdam Akila Papachaya Yanama Sakrich Javanat Ukashopi Vimuchyate Samsarat.
Thank you, Prabhu. It's probably some transcendental meter that us mortals can barely understand, but it's a good effort. Suppose we'll go straight to the word-for-word translation. Not. He, indeed. Bhagavan, O my Lord. Agatitam, not occurred. Idam, this. Tvat, of you. Darshanat, by seeing. Nrinam, all human beings. Akila, all. Papa, of sins. Kshaya, annihilation. Yatnama, whose name. Sarit, only once. Shravanat, by hearing. Pokashaha, the lowest class, the Chandala. Api, also. Vimuchate is delivered. Samsarat, from the entanglement of material existence. So we just know this is going to be good. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. My Lord, it is not impossible for one to be immediately freed from all material contamination by seeing you. Not to speak of seeing you personally, merely by hearing the holy name of your Lordship only once, even Chandalas, men of the lowest class, are freed from all material contamination. Under the circumstances, who will not be freed from material contamination simply by seeing you? Purport. As stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam, 9th Canto, Chapter 5, text number 16, Yannama Shruti Matrena Puman Bhavati Nirmalaha. Simply by hearing the holy name of the Lord, one is immediately purified. Therefore, in this age of Kali, when all people are very contaminated, the chanting of the holy name of the Lord is recommended as the only means of improvement. Harer Nama, Harer Nama, Harer Nama Eva Kevalam. Kalo Nastyeva, Nastyeva, Nastyeva Gatir Anyata. In this age of quarrel and hypocrisy, the only means of deliverance is the chanting of the holy name of the Lord. There is no other way. There is no other way. There is no other way. From the Brihan Naradiya Purana. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu introduced this chanting of the holy name 500 years ago. And now, through the Krishna consciousness movement, the Hare Krishna movement, we are actually seeing that men who are considered to belong to the lowest class are being delivered from all sinful activities simply by hearing the holy name of the Lord. Samsara, material existence, is a result of sinful actions. Everyone in this material world is condemned. Yet as there are different grades of prisoners, there are different grades of men. All of them, in all statuses of life, are suffering. To stop the suffering of material existence, one must take to the Hare Krishna movement of Sankirtana, or Krishna conscious life. Herein it is said, Yannama Satkrit Sharanat. The holy name of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is so powerful that if once heard without offenses, it can purify the lowest of men. Kirata, Hunandra, Pulinda, Pulkashaha, and Pennsylvanians. Such men, who are called Chandalas, are less than Shudras, but they can be purified simply by hearing the holy name of the Lord, not to speak of personally seeing the Lord. From our present position, the Supreme Personality of Godhead can be personally seen as the deity in the temple. The deity of the Lord is not different from the Supreme Lord, because we cannot see the Supreme Lord with present blunt eyes. The Lord has kindly consented to come before us in a form we can see. Therefore, the deity in the temple should not be considered material. By offering food to the deity and by decorating and serving the deity, one gets the same result that one derives from serving the Lord personally in Vaikuntha. Another glorious purport from His Divine Grace. Prabhupada Ki Jai. Om Agyana Timarandasya Gyananjana Shalaka Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manovishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Paran Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Brindavaneshwari Brishabhana Sutta Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jai. So in this glorious verse, let's hear it again, if you don't mind. And it's a good reminder. We need these sort of reminders sometimes when we're lacking in faith. Faith in seeing the Lord, faith in hearing the holy names, hearing these poignant and potent words from Srimad Bhagavatam. Reignite our intelligence so that we can perform that Yuga Dharma with faith and with conviction. So herein it is said, my Lord, it is not impossible for one to be immediately freed from all material contamination by seeing you. It's not impossible to see the Lord. It is not impossible to be freed from all material contamination. Not to speak of seeing you personally, merely by hearing the holy name of your Lordship only once. Even Chandalas, men of the lowest class, are freed from all material contamination. We should believe this because most of us are in that category. Respectfully, dear Vaishnavas, of course, now looking around at the super divine and spiritual names of those in this Zoom room, meeting on the ethereal plane. We're all meeting, I wish we could be in the temple, but we're meeting on the ethereal plane through the wavelengths. Still, most of us, we were in this category of Chandala, Pukashaha. Low class. Low class means killing and eating other creatures, means lying and thieving, disrespecting the environment upon which we are so dependent like a mother, and rejecting the supremacy of the Lord in explicitly and with our actions. We were in this category, and yet here we are, purified by just hearing the holy names of the Lord. Every once in a while, we need to stop and take stock of the progress that has been made over the years of chanting Krishna's holy names, so that we don't forget that purifying potency. If we take for granted that, well, I've always been so wonderfully sattvic and so pious, so devoted and so knowledgeable about the nature of the absolute truth, what's the big deal? If we forget, then perhaps we won't appreciate how significant are these statements. Every once in a while, we should look back, maybe flip through some old photos of your pre-Krishna conscious days and remember, oh my God, what a confused and sad mess I was. But constant chanting of the holy names of the Lord in the ways of the great authorities purifies even the lowest of men. Etan nirvidyamananam ichatam akudho bhayam yoginam nripanirmitam rer namanu kirtanam. It's said in the second canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, in this first chapter. Constant chanting of the holy name of the Lord after the ways of the great authorities is the doubtless and fearless way of success for all, including, raise your hand if you like, including those who are free from all material desires. Nobody raising their hand? Okay. Those who are desirous of all material enjoyment, woohoo! And those who are self-satisfied by dint of transcendental knowledge. A doubtless and fearless way of success for all. Sometimes we need to be reminded that we're in this category of ichatam. We just have so much desire, so much agitation, therefore so much agitation, so much frustration. And yet the holy names can purify our desires so that we see, as the fulfiller of all desires, the Supreme Lord Krishna, and gradually we will graduate to the topmost understanding that the best is simply desire to serve Krishna. So let's remember the transformation that's been taking place. Let's not take it for granted, but we should know it is effected by the holy names of the Lord. Faithful chanting in the association of great devotees. That's why it says, chanting the holy name of the Lord after the way of great authorities. Now, anyone can chant. Anyone can be benefited by the chanting. And everyone is benefited by the chanting immediately. We see this all the time. In our effort to try to share Krishna's holy names with others, we see all the time that anyone who chants immediately experiences some ecstasy. And for the time that they're chanting, they are completely free from sinful reactions. Did you know that? As it's being said here. Completely freed. What was it in the verse here? Merely by hearing the holy name of your Lordship only once, even chandalas, men of the lowest class, are freed from all material contamination. So you might be asking, well, I've done so many kirtans, and there have been lots of new people there. I mean, if I had to guess, it would be in the tens of thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands people of times where I've done some kirtan and there's some new person, someone doing it for the first time. Many, many, many. They're not all attain Kopi Bhava, realize their Siddha Svarupa, their eternal form as servants of Krishna, Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema. But we have to have faith that actually for the time that they're chanting in the association of the devotees, if they're taking it seriously, then at least for that time, they are actually freed from material contamination, from sinful activity. Just like a person, if they go into the pool, then for that time they are wet. They're saturated. It's just that it's still an unusual situation for them. They come out of the pool, dry themselves off. Similarly, a person becomes purified by hearing the holy names, and especially by chanting the holy names in the association of devotees. But when they leave that space, they again unpurify themselves. Like an elephant that bathes in the water, but then immediately throws dirt upon themselves. That level of purification, whereby one no longer needs to contaminate oneself, can take some time, or an extraordinary mercy from the Lord and from his devotees. But even for that moment, where some new person, just for the first time, they say, well, let me try out this Hare Krishna Kirtan. And they chant, and they close their eyes, and they sway. The amount of purification that's going on in the heart might not be so apparent to us at that time, but it is happening. And how do we know that it's happening? Because those that continue to practice and sincerely chant, they become 100% transformed. The effects aren't always visible immediately, but we have to have faith in these statements here in Srimad Bhagavatam. Immediate purification, free from all material contamination, at least for the time that they're chanting. And so, we just have to get people to chant as much as possible. Hear the holy names all the time. And in this way, that purification becomes very strong and very profound, such that they no longer desire to contaminate themselves again. Many of us have had this experience, so let's have faith that it can happen to others too. I recall, as I was coming along to Gora Yoga in Wellington, New Zealand, I thought I was just going there because they had pretty girls. That was my motivation. And they were all so nice to me. I should have been suspicious. And I was going along there and chanting and being very critical as I usually am. And then at some point I was back in my apartment in Wellington with all these very, very low-class dudes. I mean, I don't want to even describe what our living space was like. It was a pigsty. Pigs would have run away from that place. And I remember smoking a cigarette, throwing it immediately onto the carpeted floor, because that was our status. That was our level of quality. And just looking at it and just going, I don't even want this anymore. I don't even need this. And seeing what my mates were doing with themselves. I won't shock you all, dear friends. It's too early in the morning to hear horror stories. And I would just look at it, and suddenly I felt like I was in a different world. Hold on a second. I don't want any of this. I don't want any of that. I want to go over to that Hare Krishna place and chant. So many of us have experienced that transformation. Therefore, we need to have faith. It is happening. When we're doing the kirtan, there's some newer people coming along, like you just this wonderful retreat at Gita Nagari, so many newer people, I presume, coming and they're chanting. And it might look like, well, I mean, they're not in Radha Krishna Bhava. They're not devotees, right? They may not be devotees, but they're becoming immensely purified by the chanting of the holy names, just like we did. So therefore, let's have some faith and always make that available to others. If we constantly remember, take stock of the transformation that has occurred in us, then we'll have faith and conviction that it can happen to others, that we can purify others. I was just talking to a young man on the phone yesterday evening, about 5:30. Justin, some of you have been coming to Bhakti Yoga Center for a while. You remember Justin, who went off to Texas to do his graduate studies, graduating. And he's been practicing Krishna consciousness since leaving here, going to the temple, serving at, what do they have, this Bhakti farm out there in Austin. And anyway, we talk on the phone every once in a while. And he was talking about a friend that now he's been bringing along to the temple and to the programs, but who's got all sorts of problems. And I was just trying to give him some encouragement. And then he said, this is the same thing we've heard so many times, that I was just such a mess when I met you and the devotees. I was just so disturbed. I was so distraught. I was really at my lowest point. How many times have you heard that? I was at my lowest point. And he was saying, also feeling this encouragement, like I can help this other young man. He has some interest in bhakti. He loves to chant. But then when he leaves that place, he's got so many problems and he's so sad and depressed. But then come and he'll chant with the devotees. So Justin was reflecting upon his own transformation, and thus the cycle repeats itself. It's a reaction. It's a chemical reaction. Whereby one reaction creates another reaction, which creates another reaction, which creates something we call the Sankirtana movement. And we're all becoming conduits for that reaction. If we have conviction and faith in the statement being made here, merely by hearing the holy name of your Lordship only once. Even chandalas, men of the lowest class, are freed from all material contamination. Sanketyam parihasyam va, stobam helanam eva va, vaikuntanama grahanam, asheshaga, haram vidu. Aga. Is Nagari Krishna here? Aga. Aga means sinful. But of course, our Aghari Krishna, one who's the enemy of the sinful Aga demon. Agasura really just means sinful demon. It's a very poignant, focused name. But listen to this from the 6th canto. We heard this earlier in chapter 2. One who chants the holy name of the Lord is immediately freed. Again, there's so many statements, Prabhus, in our Shastra, wherein it says immediately freed from the reactions of unlimited sins. Why are those statements there? Is it just poetry? Is it just like cheerleading? Rah, rah, rah. Yeah, immediately freed from the reactions of unlimited sins. These statements are just there to kind of get us hyped up. Like the hype man in a rap song, he hypes up his boy, says something exaggerated, get that ego going. Or the cheerleaders for some athletes. You're the best, you're the greatest. Is that what these statements are about? No, they're absolutely 100% true. So we forget that even we ourselves are evidence of that truth. So let us be reminded. Sanketyam parihasyam va. Listen, how one chants. It still gets the result. One who chants the holy name of the Lord is immediately freed from the reactions of unlimited sins, even if he chants indirectly to indicate something else. Jokingly, for musical entertainment, or even neglectfully. This is accepted by all the learned scholars of the scriptures. Indirectly to indicate something else. There's this town, believe it or not, in the suburbs of Wellington, New Zealand, called Ngauranga. It's just the letter N and Goranga. In the Maori language, there's a vowel, ngla. Kind of like we have our anusvara. I mean, not anusvara, our, like Samkirtan. That's not the anusvara. What is that called? Forgot now. Anyway, they've got the ngla. Gnapati is one of the tribes. So they got Ngauranga. It's just in Goranga. And His Holiness Janananda Goswami would come there and he'd say, what could be a better place in the entire world than one named after Gauranga? Everyone's literally saying Gauranga. And so we would do Harinam. Not so much in Gauranga, but around Wellington. And he would just be in such ecstasy. Janananda Goswami, His Holiness Janananda Goswami, is the Harinam maestro. He's the master. And he has so much faith in these statements. He told us once as we were going through the Chinatown in Sydney, Australia. He said so many people will hear the holy names. Some of them will appreciate it. Some of them won't appreciate it. It doesn't make much difference either way. He would say this with such conviction. And we would go out. Of course, the way he leads the Harinam, everybody appreciates it. People just dancing in ecstasy all the time. But he had that complete faith. So even if someone's chanting indirectly to indicate something else, they're benefited, immediately freed from the reactions of unlimited sins. If they say it jokingly, how many times have you're probably all tired of hearing this story, where I was doing Harinam in Sydney, and we came up to this bar, one of those outdoor sort of things. People are drinking, it's late at night. Anusvara, thank you, Prabhu. And we're chanting outside, and there's this bar, and everyone's drinking, and we're doing the Harinam, and we're singing and dancing. And most people are clapping along, they're drunk in Sydney on some weekend night. And this one guy's giving us what he considered the inauspicious mudra. And he had this grumpy look on his face. Or then after a while, we stayed there for several minutes just chanting and dancing. And after a while, he starts moving around. And then he's chanting, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, doing the laughing, pointing, trying to make fun of it. He's trying to stop his friends from getting into the ecstasy. You had that attitude. So he's laughing at us, and he's pointing, and he's giving us the bird. But eventually he starts moving his shoulders around, swaying side to side like this and kind of clapping his hands. Even though he was chanting jokingly to try to insult us, actually, he became so affected by it that eventually he was also dancing and smiling with the rest of his friends in this bar in Sydney. So even people do it jokingly. If they say it's the hairy Krishnas, they're completely benefited. Even if someone just does it for musical entertainment, and this is important because that is a trend. People like to hear music. People like to put in these mantras and these holy names now, right? Like our Corey at the Bhakti Yoga Center, the aspiring DJ. He did his first show, and he put in, on my request, of course. I mean, it was actually his idea, but I gave him some counsel on it. But he put in all sorts of holy names into his set. I mean, I don't know how the duff music works, that that sort of stuff. And so he got all these tracks where there's these holy names, there's other mantras, lots of ohms, and he threw it out for this show that he did, kind of like this amateur DJ show. So even though people are just there for musical entertainment, Jacob was there. They're just going to have a good time and to have fun, but they hear the holy names. They can become completely purified from unlimited sins. They can be. Even if it's just entertainment. Many of them will inquire, this is beautiful, what is this? And they might become even more focused in the chanting. And last but not least, even if chanted neglectfully, according to this incredible verse, one can be purified from unlimited sins. And thank God for that, because it really is Krishna's mercy that he will accept our attempt to chant attentively, even though it is not attentive. If we chanted attentively, there would be tears in our eyes, we'd be rolling on the ground, we'd be seeing Radha and Krishna dancing on the end of our tongue. And yet, rarely do we have such ecstasy. But still the Lord is so kind that seeing our attempts like a child learning how to walk, taking first steps, he accepts our offering. He's so kind and so merciful. So even neglectfully, we get so much benefit, the benefit of being freed from unlimited sins. But to get the complete benefit of seeing the Lord by chanting, that is his special mercy. And this will be the second part of our discussion today. Because there are two statements being made in this verse, in Srimad Bhagavatam. That chanting, hearing the holy names of the Lord, frees one from unlimited sins. But one may also, by the grace of the Lord, see him personally. And to have that ecstasy, ecstatic love of God, completely fill the heart and become the norm, to become everything. That's by the mercy of the Lord. The holy names, of course, can free us from so much sin, from the state of nama aparad, of causing offenses, to nama bhasa, where one is becoming purified, where the tendency towards sinful action and material contamination is lessened. But shuddha nama, pure chanting, symptomized by ecstatic love, and seeing the Lord within the heart at all times, well, that's something that's Lord's special reciprocation with us. At times, because of his kindness, he gives us a little taste, a little sample, just like as the sun is coming up over the horizon, even if it has not crossed the horizon, still those rays of light indicate what is coming, and we get a sense that if I continue to chant and really put my heart into it, the Lord may reveal himself to me, and thereby everything else will become revealed. Just as the sun rises, then we can see the sun, the environment, and ourselves most clearly. Srila Haridas Thakur says, even before the sun comes up, we get some glimpse, we get some idea of what's coming. Krishna Prema, it's on its way. the Lord is so kind to me, he can give it. So that is the special reciprocation of the Lord. If we can see him always while chanting his holy names and see him within the heart, then of course there's no question of material contamination. There's no question of going back into materialistic life. Rather, one becomes completely absorbed in the ecstasy of love of God. Prema Anjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena Santa Sadhaiva Hridayoshu Velokayani Yam Shama Sundaram Achinti Gunasvarupam Govindamari Purusham Tamaham Bhajam. Is that right? Yam Shama Sundaram. Of course, here in Srila Prabhupada is saying that we can see the form of the Lord always as the deity in the temple by his kindness. So we should not have any doubt that we have seen the Lord. Sometimes our own materialistic doubt comes up, or some sour grapes atheist type may challenge you. Well, have you seen God? Seen God. We should say with confidence, yes, I see the form of the Lord every day. I bring him his breakfast and his lunch. Those who do some deity seva. I bring him his lunch. I put him to sleep. I have to put him in bed. So we should say with confidence, we see the Lord. We should say with confidence, when Krishna says, I'm the light of the sun and the moon. What is that verse? The syllable Om in the Vedic Shabdi Purusham Nrishu Pranava Sarva Vedeshu. I can't remember the first line. Anyway, when he describes all these ways in which we can see the Lord.
Rasoham Apsukantiya Prabhasmi Shashi Surayoho Pranavasura Vedeshu Vikisham Rishu.
Thank you, Prabhu. Prabhasmi Sashi Suryo. Here the sun is coming up so bright. I have to close the curtains. We should feel confident. The Lord says, I am the light of the sun and the moon. We should say with confidence, yes, therefore I've seen God. In fact, that's all there is to see. It's very philosophical. Most people can't handle that. And yes, we've seen the form of the Lord in the temple. I've seen so many people. In fact, I see people all the time. But is there significant love whereby that becomes my absorption? And I have the ecstasy of love for that person? Well, that's very rare. In fact, there's hardly anyone in this world that I see in that way. A small handful of some whom I tolerate so much that it would call it love. That's another discussion. In the Kali Yuga, love to tolerate somebody enough that you can be with them all the time. But love the Lord, to see him with the eyes tinged with the salve of love. That's the Lord's reciprocation with us. It's our strong desire in the Lord's reciprocation. Premjana charita bhakti vilochanena Santa sadaiva hridayeshu vilokayanti. So here in this verse in Srimad Bhagavatam, we're talking about seeing the Lord. So what does it mean to see him? How can we cultivate that love so that we see him? I'm just going to read that purport. Why not? You've all heard me yapping long enough, but Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's very short purport to that incredible verse from Brahma Samhita is just so wonderful. Let us remember that by the grace of the Lord, we can see Krishna, Radha and Krishna all the time when the eyes are tinged with the salve of love, and have absolute confidence. Not only do I see God all the time, but I can continue to see him within my heart of hearts, symptomized by the ecstatic love that I'm always looking for. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur makes that so clear. I'm just going to read this short purport to that verse from Brahma Samhita, wherein it says, I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who is Shama Sundara, Krishna himself, with inconceivable, innumerable attributes, whom the pure devotees see in their heart of hearts with the eye of devotion tinged with the salve of love. Listen to this, please, devotees. The Shama Sundara form of Krishna. Now we can see the Lord in his Paramatma form everywhere. Shashi Shurya. We can see the Lord's energies everywhere. We can be reminded of the Lord, just like one is reminded of their love for their children, their toys everywhere. Every parent knows. You all come to my house, there's toys everywhere. But you're reminded of the child. and you see them indirectly. So that's one seeing. But to see the Shama Sundara form is his inconceivable, simultaneous, personal, impersonal, self-contradictory form. This is how Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur writes. True devotees see that form in their purified hearts under the influence of devotional trance. The form Shama is not the blue color visible in the mundane world, but is the transcendental variegated color affording eternal bliss, and is not visible to the mortal eye. On a consideration of the trance of Vyasadeva, as in the shloka Bhakti Yogena Manasi, it will be clear that the form of Sri Krishna is the full personality of Godhead and can only be visible in the heart of a true devotee, which is the only true seat in the state of trance under the influence of devotion. Listen to this, dear Prabhus. When Krishna manifested himself in Braj, both the devotees and non-devotees saw him with this very eye. But only the devotees cherished him eternally present in Braj as the priceless jewel of their heart. Nowadays also the devotees see him in Braj in their hearts, saturated with devotion, although they do not see him with their eyes. The eye of devotion is nothing but the eye of the pure, unalloyed spiritual self of the jiva. The form of Krishna is visible to that eye in proportion to its purification by the practice of devotion. In other words, as is being described in this Bhagavatam verse, we become purified by hearing the holy names, by engaging in devotional service. And in proportion to that purification, one sees nothing but Krishna, eternally manifest within their hearts. That's the symptom. That's the symptom of the purification of the holy names. In proportion to that purification, Krishna is visible to that eye. What is that eye? The pure, unalloyed spiritual self of the jiva. Actually, that's all the jiva sees. We're Satchidananda. Chit means awareness, consciousness. We're conscious. Everybody recognizes we're conscious. It's just an illusion. We're thinking I'm conscious of my body, and I'm conscious of all the things in relation to my body, and I'm conscious of all the stuff I got to pay for to keep this body going. Actually, there's only consciousness of Krishna. When we're purified of material contamination, we see nothing but Krishna, nothing but the Lord. And all of our fear and anxiety is just thinking that there's anything else. So the pure, unalloyed spiritual self of the jiva sees nothing but Krishna and is visible to Krishna always in proportion to the purification of the self. When the devotion of the neophyte reaches the stage of bhava bhakti, the pure eye of that devotee is tinged with the salve of love by the grace of Krishna, which enables him to see Krishna face to face. The phrase "in their hearts" means Krishna is visible in proportion as their hearts are purified by the practice of devotion. The sum and substance of this shloka is that the form of Krishna, who is Shama Sundara, Natavara, the best dancer, Muralidhara, holder of the flute, and Tribhanga, triple ending, is not a mental concoction, but is transcendental and is visible with the eye of the soul of the devotee under trance. So, dear devotees, we must have confidence that we can see the Lord always. In fact, we see nothing but the Lord. But if we want to see the Shama Sundara form of the Lord face to face, it is by His mercy that through the eye of devotion, which is nothing but the uncontaminated state of the jiva, the purified consciousness, one sees Radha and Krishna in Vrindavan always. It is entirely possible by the grace of the Lord, as is being said, Chitketu. It is not impossible for one to be immediately freed from all material contamination by seeing you. It is not impossible. If we have that strong desire, the Lord will reciprocate so that we can see Him. Well, let us begin by hearing Him, hearing attentively. The Lord is manifested in the deity form and in His holy names. Just like if someone wants to have a relationship with another person, first you have to you have to satisfy some requirements. You don't just immediately jump to the most intimate exchange of relationship with another person. You satisfy certain requirements so that that person wants to reveal themselves to you fully. So similarly, Krishna says, Naham prakasha sarvasya yogamaya samavrita mudtoyam navijananti. And the last line, which Jana remembers, I'm sure.
Loko mama jamadhyayam.
Thank you. He says, I don't have to be manifest to foolish persons. I'm covered by Yogamaya. For someone who is willfully ignorant, who is avowed to doubt and skepticism, who is an unwilling skeptic. That's the trend amongst the atheists these days. Well, I don't want to know. Well, the Lord does not have to reveal himself. He doesn't have to reveal himself deterministically to some unwilling skeptic. Muddha, who's foolish. He remains covered by Yoga Maya, like an actor on a stage is not recognized. Queen Kunti says like this. Avyadadhukshajam. Anyway, Queen Kunti says like this, like an act natyadaro yataha, like an actor on a stage cannot be recognized. If you see a performance on stage and you see the actor playing a character, you don't know what that person is really like. All you know is the character that they're presenting to you. So similarly, the Lord presents himself to the atheistic and to the doubters as the material energy and is always controlling them, pushing them down towards death. That's what we all deserve, frankly speaking. That's how he reveals himself. And so they cannot see past this yoga maya, this veil, this curtain, or see past the character. The Lord, we only see the Lord as Shamasundara, as Natavara, as Muralidhara, when he wants to reveal himself. It's the quality of any relationship. And so what speaks of supreme relationship with the Supreme Person. Dear devotees, let us first take seriously seeing the form of the Lord as the deity in the temple, serving with real affection, with real care, and with real faith, serving the holy names of the Lord, having faith in those holy names, that they will deliver us to Krishna, because after all, they've delivered us from so much material contamination and given us a glimpse of the Krishna prema that's coming. If we reciprocate with what the Lord has given us already, then he will be so inclined to reveal himself further as Shamasundara Krishna, as is said by Srila Bhaktisaranta Saraswati Thakur, as is being said by Chitraketu in this verse here, as is being said by Srila Prabhupada in this purport. It takes a bit of faith, absolutely, and that's why we're reminded in these Srimad Bhagavatam verses of the purification, of the effect of that chanting, and we can be continually reminded daily even, if we make an effort to share that experience with others. I forget all the time because I'm just Kali Yuga dog. But I'm trying to surround myself with people who are growing in bhakti, and I get to see and hear from them that continuous transformation from darkness to light, asatoma satgamaya. And therefore, I'm always reminded, it's possible for me too. I would be like you. I want to become so excited in Krishna consciousness. So in conclusion, let us have faith in the constant chanting of the holy names of the Lord. Let us have faith in sharing the chanting of the holy names of the Lord with others. Let us have faith that not only do we see nothing but God, but by the Lord's grace, he can reveal himself to us as Shamasundara, Natavara, Muralidhara in Braj, in his original form. Jai Srila Prabhupada. I'll finish there because I got work soon. I gotta make a call at 8 o'clock with a client. But there's a couple of minutes, perhaps someone wants to share something about hearing the holy names of the Lord, seeing the Lord's form as the deity in the temple, or even by the grace of the Lord, seeing his form as Shamasundara Krishna. If anyone wants to share and give us all some encouragement about your experiences in chanting Hare Krishna, it would just be so wonderful.
Yesterday, Prabhu, I'll just share one verse.
Please. Oh, Shlokarini.
So you had mentioned that. Is there an echo?
Maybe I can mute myself while you talk. Go.
Okay. So Bhagavatam 1:114, you said there are many verses that say you can be freed immediately, and this is one of them. Apana samstritim ghoram yanam vivashogrinan tata sadyo vimutyeta yad bibheti swayam bhayam. Living beings who are entangled in the complicated meshes of birth and death can be freed immediately by even unconsciously chanting the holy name of Krishna, which is feared by fear personified. Ecstatic class, thank you so much. There's so much to discuss, and I'm going to let the other devotees share.
How do you unconsciously chant? Like when you're sleeping? I've heard devotees talking in their sleep, talking about Krishna. I'm curious, what is the definition of unconsciously chanting? Or is it like, as we heard in that verse, Sankityam Parihasyam Va, where you're just not very attentive, or you're doing it for fun, it's just musical entertainment? That's probably what they mean. But when I was a brahmachari, we had 6 or 7 guys just sleeping on the floor next to each other. Many prabhus would be taught Krishna in their sleep. It's the cutest thing. Hare Krishna. Devaki Priti, Devi Dasi, Prabhuji Mataji, Sisterji.
Hi, Krishna Yashade. Thank you so much for your class. I really, really appreciate it, and I feel very inspired and happy. I was so excited when I saw you giving class today. I was like, I'm there. Thank you so much for enlivening us and for your example and reminding us all these wonderful points. So what a great way to start my day, hearing from you. Thank you so much.
Jai. All right, dear devotees, thank you for tuning in. If there's nothing else to say, then we will retire to the spiritual world.
We have 4 minutes left.
Oh, dear Tarika Prabhu, yes, please. We always want to hear your Krishna
No, we
consciousness.
want to hear from you, great soul. We never tire of hearing your ambrosial words. I'm always looking forward to hearing your reports from the front lines. And I haven't heard any reports in quite some time. I would love to hear something about your adventures in State College, preaching to the fallen conditioned souls. It's so very enlivening to hear.
As you said. Well, as you said, the front lines means sometimes there's some casualties. That's the hard part about preaching Krishna consciousness. It's not always sweet. Everyone is benefited. Actually, it is always sweet. But from a shallow, superficial perspective, it might seem like sometimes people come and go. You don't always get the result that you're expecting. And you wonder, am I effective? I don't think there's a day that goes by where I wonder, am I effective or am I wasting my time? Then somehow, perhaps by the grace of Krishna, I get a call yesterday from a friend like Justin, who's still practicing Krishna consciousness. And then he says, thank you, it's worked. And that's what it's like on the front line. But we have to have faith that the chanting of the holy names is sufficient to enact that revolution in the consciousness of the misdirected human civilization. I mean, Prabhupada spoke with such incredible words, and sometimes we can hear that, like that introduction to Srimad Bhagavatam, and have some doubt. But if we get out there, we will be reminded of that purifying potency. It's for some reason, it's better to watch someone else transform in Krishna consciousness than in our own selves. That's my experience. My own self, I'm very skeptical and I'm very cynical, and I still have such poor quality. But when I watch someone else transforming in Krishna consciousness, I feel so much more conviction, so much more enthusiasm, that I cannot help but in ecstasy as well. So that's what it's like on the front lines. But if you want more practical update, There's several persons along who'll be getting initiated soon, which is really nice. And there's always new people coming through, and we're trying to encourage them step by step. Of course, it's a group effort. We're so fortunate to have Puprit Prabhu and Jagannath Pandit Prabhu and Janavatsal and Devaki Priti always helping, and Ajamil Prabhu always coming out to help, and Achyuta Mataji as well, lending their voices and lending their support and making it a community that people are attracted to. That's what's really effective. But yeah, Abdullah will be initiated. I mean to brag, but there's not many Saudis. It's remarkable. I don't know if I've told you how many times, or I have told you that he can't go back to Saudi. And he's pretty confident that the government is watching him. They can't take somebody out there. That'd be too much of a stink. They got in so much trouble just for killing that one journalist. But if they took somebody out on foreign soil, it would be too obvious and it'd be such a stink. But he said that there's pretty clear signs that he's being watched by the government. But still, he just has all this faith and conviction that he'll be initiated soon. And here at Gita Nagari, I believe Daniel will be initiated soon. So progress is being made step by step. Always more. We always want things to be bigger and better and louder, but that's up to Krishna to decide. What we can do is try our best and continue to make that available to everyone. Each individual has their independence and the free will. The Lord respects that as well. The Lord can bless us with more facility if he wants, or perhaps he wants us to just do our best with what we have. I try to remember Srila Prabhupada struggling. I mean, if Srila Prabhupada spent years struggling, I should spend lifetime struggling. I don't deserve anything more than Srila Prabhupada, for sure. So I try to remember the example of Srila Prabhupada, who was struggling even in his home country of India, even in America, for years before he had more and more success by the grace of the Lord. So that's all I have to say as far as an update goes. We just try our best. It's not always fantastic, but it is always spectacular. There's always this dichotomy. We always want more for Krishna. We always want to do better for Krishna. There hasn't been a single day where I did a program and I felt like, yes, now I'm fully satisfied. That's never ever happened. Always want more for Krishna. That's all I can say. I apologize. I'm talking about myself, which is not very pleasant. But I got work. Thanks, dear devotees, for tuning in to Srimad Bhagavatam class. May you all attain pure devotional bliss in this lifetime.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanandi, Hari Hari Bo.
Hare Krishna.
Wow, Jamil Prabhu, you look so spiritual, like you've just descended from Vaikuntha.
Hare Bo.
Your effulgence is glowing.
I'm just in the sun.
I agree, you're glowing.
Hare Bo.
Thank you, devotees. Hare Krishna. Have a blissful day.
Hare Krishna.